majority of
man.
Cubans. A strong majority of Cubans support it. Now, I met with some dissidents before I came here. Those who supported this change in policy, a few who thought that it somehow rewarded or validated the existing government. But what I explained to them is that we will continue to speak out loudly on the things that we care about. That's not going to change. But isolation had, in some ways, empowered those who didn't want to see change, because essentially they were in a position to blame all the problems that they had here on the United States, and we could not do what I did today, which is speak to the entire Cuban population and talk about the values that America cares about and the extraordinary success that Cuban Americans have had when they have freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the ability to start their own businesses and so forth.
Mr. President, I'm a first-generation Cuban American raised in Puerto Rico.
Absolutely.
I spent the last 72 hours with my family that has never left Cuba.
Right.
They're here.
Right.
They have their children. They're contemporary with my age, 46.
Right.
What do you tell them and their children about having hope for the future?
You know, I think our goal is that if, as a consequence of the changes in policy, you start seeing small businesses emerge, and you're starting to see people being able to drive their own car or open up their own barbershop and get their own income. If we start seeing more American tourists coming, if we continue to see the remittances, meaning the cash that Cuban Americans earn, being able to send it back to their families, then over time, your families here, other families, they can start building their own small nest eggs. Maybe they can start a business. We're going to continue to put pressure so that people now can be hired not through the government but on their own. And by creating those pockets of freedom and opportunity, over time, changing attitudes start beginning to happen. And people start thinking, you know what, I don't have to risk traveling to Miami in order to succeed. Potentially, I can succeed here. And the more we can create these pockets of opportunity and hope here, when you see the incredible talent and skill and innovation of the Cuban people, I have no doubt that eventually change is going to come.
Well, Mr. President, full disclosure, I played for the Chicago Cubs.
You know what? I like the Chicago connection, and you know, when we're in Cuba, Cubs, White Sox, it doesn't matter.
Well, speaking of social change, Mr. President, Jackie Robinson's legacy. You made a personal commitment bringing in Rachel Robinson, Sharon Robinson, the family, here just for this moment, this special connection. So what do you see that connection ties to not only your life and presidency, but also what you see in the future in this potential relationship between the United States and Cuba?
Well, if you think about Jackie Robinson playing in this ballpark a couple of months before he breaks the color barrier in Major League Baseball, and then to have his wife, who's one of the loveliest people I know, and I still don't believe she's actually 90 years old, because she is gorgeous. And I've gotten a chance to know her and the Robinson family. I've said this before, that's the power of baseball. That's the power of sports. It can change attitudes sometimes in ways that a politician can never change. A speech can't change. You know, all those kids who started growing up watching the Brooklyn Dodgers, and suddenly they're rooting for a black man on the field. And how that affects their attitudes, laying the groundwork for the civil rights movement. That's a legacy that all of us have benefited from, black and white and Latino and Asian, because what it did was it taught America that it's the skills, it's the talent, it's the character, and not the color that matters. Now, we still have a long way to go. You know, that's true in our everyday life. It's true in our sports, right? I mean, you know, if you look at the number of African American managers, if you look at the number of Latino managers in baseball or owners, obviously there's still a carryover from the past. But the thing that I emphasized in the speech today to the Cuban people, and the thing that we can be so proud of as Americans, is not that we're perfect, but that we have the capacity to change. And Jackie Robinson represents the very best of that change.
Given what happened today, was there ever any consideration to not coming to the game today? And it's clear that you're enjoying the game. Your wife in particular seems to be really enjoying the game as a baseball fan.
Well,